Wow, a little bit about myself. Well, I was born from my mama, and that was in Roseburg, Oregon, which is just south of Eugene, like 60 miles. And there was like 6 kids in the family, 5 boys, 1 girl, and then everybody moved up to North Eugene area, not very far from this school, off Howard Avenue, a place called Oak Drive, and that's where we all grew up. And I went to Howard Elementary School, and then Colin Kelly Junior High. I was in middle school at that time, and then went to here, North Eugene High School. And I didn't really like school at all. I mean, the only reason I really went to high school was to run. I was a cross country and track runner, and Steve Prefontaine was running at the University of Oregon at that time, and so we always went to watch pre-run, and I wanted to be an Olympic distance runner. And I got really bad grades in school, you know, I got A's in PE. And then, you know, I went in the military after that. I don't know why I did that. I went in the Army in 1974 and went to Germany and did lots of drugs there, actually. You go in the military, there's lots of drugs in the military, so be very careful when you go. I came out of the military, you know, like in 1977, and was trying to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And I was still just bartended for a few years. And then I started going to LCC for video and film production because I was getting a little tired of bartending because it really wasn't taking me anywhere I really wanted to go. And I was sort of itching to try to figure out really what I wanted to do with my life. And I don't like having jobs. I don't like having bosses. I don't like having people telling me what to do. And so I was trying to find a niche, something that I really was passionately in love with doing. And I sort of realized that maybe that was film and video production. And so I started going to LCC, which was a cool cool school for that because it was a practicum. It was something where you could get your hands on the cameras and the editing systems right away. And so I went there for only about 3 or 4 terms, but learned how to use cameras, learned how to edit. And it wasn't computerized editing at that time. It was all linear editing, tape. There was no computers. It was really funky stuff. I mean, cameras were this big, you guys, and the field decks you had to carry were this big, and the tapes were this big, you know, and everything. And so you had to be pretty beefy sometimes just to carry the gear around. So then after that, I felt like I learned how to do video fairly well, just a little bit. And a buddy and I, Marlon Dara, who went to North Eugene High School also, and is still in film and video production, we formed a company called International Film and Video. And we decided that we wanted to videotape on cruise ships. And so nobody at that time in the early 80s was videotaping on cruise ships, and so we hustled ourselves to some cruise lines and everything and convinced them that it was a good idea for us to be on board to videotape their ports of call and the people on board and people drinking champagne on the bows of the cruise ships and stuff. And so we were hired on like 3 or 4 different cruise lines to videotape people's cruises and travel the world. And so we did that for about 4 or 5 years. Well, I mean, I think back when I was involved, which was in the 90s, and Warner Creek happened around 95, 96, and then there was a lot of energy that came down off that mountain in Eugene into the later 90s. And so when all that energy came down out of the mountain, and we won Warner Creek, by the way, and so everybody was pretty jazzed and pumped up, like, we can do anything. Jesus Christ, man, we'll kick the ass on the feds. Let's go down to Eugene and play some hell. And so that's what we did. And so people were doing Cop Watch and doing a Cascadia Live television show, and they continued on with Forest Defense, and people were generally living in the Whitaker neighborhood. And so all sorts of stuff was going on. And so with all that energy and power that existed in Eugene at that time, a lot of people were organizing protests. And it was usually about sometimes once or twice a week. And people would be on the streets, or they might go to the Forest Service and do a protest, or do a rally at the federal building. But yeah, and sometimes those protests got pretty wild. I mean, sometimes the cops came in hardcore and would try to, you know, stop it. Or, like on June 18th in 1999, the anarchists, we ran the cops out at Washington Jefferson Park. There's imagery of, you know, like the police chief and his cronies turn the vehicle around on 7th Street and stuff being thrown at them, and they're escaping the masses, and the people go out in the middle of 7th Street and take over 7th Street. You know, tear gas is flying everywhere, and people are, like the WTO, very excited. So the protest could go to that level where windows are being busted out, tear gas, you know, pepper spray, cops being run out of the park, and we're being run out of the park to just, you know, just speakers at the federal building talking about issues, you know. But usually it would happen, yeah, like about once a week or so back in those heydays of protests and craziness. Well, the Army, I mean, I really hope you all never go in the goddamn military. You know, it's really a horrible place to be. There's, like I said, back in 74 to 77, I mean, they talk about making you a man or a woman or whatever. And it's to be a person, to be a grown-up or whatever. But it really isn't that way at all. I mean, to be mature or grown up or whatever that means is to make decisions for yourself. And you know, but the military makes all the decisions for you. I mean, if you don't do what they tell you to do, then they beat you down. You know, and so it's not about, you know, learning to make decisions for yourself. They don't want you to do that. They don't want you to think for yourself. They want you to be a cog. They want you to be a sheep. They want you to be a lemon. You know, they just want you to do exactly what they tell you to do. And if you don't do that, they beat you down. And if you still don't understand that, they beat you down more and more and more. And then, of course, you go to places that you don't ever want to go. You go to people's countries that you don't even know. And let me tell you, if foreign invaders came into North Eugene High School in this area right now and started beating the shit, bombing the shit out of your families and killing them, I'm sure we'd all be doing something crazy to that foreign invader, wouldn't we? Are we just going to stand back and hold signs? I don't think so. I think we would pick up something hard and chuck it at their fucking heads, you know? Just like what's happening, what our Iraqis are doing, the Afghanis are doing to American soldiers. And so we are not wanted over there. And so you go to places where you kill brown people and you kill poor people just to take their shit. Just to get in the refrigerators and take all their good cake and eat it for yourselves and then leave, you know? No, man. You don't want to go in the military. You got to really, and a really important way to do that, you know, is like people want stuff. Everybody wants stuff. Everybody wants a new car, a huge house, and all this stuff. But you know what? You got to work your asses off to pay for that. So that means you got to get a job, and you want to get a high-paying job, and everything means you got to pay for all your stuff. But if you flip-flop that and you go, I don't really want all this stuff. I maybe can just have a simple little cabin, maybe check in with the internet, I only have to pay $200 a month in rent, you know, and I find different ways to get my food and everything. Then I have no overhead, and I don't have to work that much, and all my time's my time, and nobody else's time. You know, it's really, and then that allows you all this time to think for yourself and do the things that maybe you really want to do, and not what you're told to do, 50 or 60 hours a week by some punk-ass boss who you don't even give a shit about. And you aren't passionate about that work. I don't think. Most of the people aren't passionate about their work. I don't know if our parents are all happy about their work that they have. I have a feeling they aren't. But it's really important in an early stage, I think, to really find out what you love to do in your life and go after it. And don't, you know, you aren't going to get it at 21 sometimes, or even 30 or 40. I'm 56, man, and I'm still looking for cool shit to do, all right? I haven't given up, and just don't give up, you know, and keep your overhead low so you keep your options open, you know, so you don't have to work your ass off to pay for a stupid Lexus. Who gives a damn about a Lexus, man? I drive a beat-up old shitty Volvo. It's cost me $400. That's it. They're all done perfectly. Not a thing would be changed. No, I don't know. I think that, I don't know, I think that the breaking the spell, I think I would do some things a little differently with breaking the spell. I think I would like to, I think there needs to be just a little bit more in-depth with breaking the spell. I think I would like to see more of imagery of the kind of shit that corporations were destroying all over the planet. So see some of that imagery a little bit more, so you'll understand why the people are fighting the cops in the streets. You know, you start seeing, these horrible giant industries in Bhopal, India or something, you know, and poisoning people, and they're dying everywhere, and then you see that kind of stuff, and then you understand why these people are maybe fighting the cops in the streets in Seattle. So maybe just a little bit of change in breaking the spell, but not a whole bunch. I mean, it was just, I think they were pretty good for what they were at the time. And what I was trying to do was to create something that would sort of show the perspective more from the radical perspective more, you know, than most people would show. Most people show what people would call the liberal perspective, sort of the liberal mainstream perspective, and I was trying to show more of the radical perspective. And I think I did that pretty well in breaking the spell. Well, now, since it was nominated, this one as a Tree Falls, which I was helped out with a little bit and was in quite a bit. Since it was nominated for an Oscar, they think I kick ass. So, but before that, they thought I was a total wingman and that maybe I needed help. But they were sort of used to me trying to make my decisions for myself and trying to find my way over the decades. And so they were sort of used to me just bouncing off in different directions and things. And they said, oh, there's that Tim doing that stuff again, you know. And so, but they've been supportive, you know, and I've sort of stuck with it. And I continue to do video and film work. I got a site called Picture Eugene, and I just like doing this kind of stuff. And I have hardly any overhead, right? And so I can continue to do whatever I want to do because I don't have to waste my time working 50, 60 hours a week doing this stupid ass job that I hate.
To get inside the action.
Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, the first time I was arrested by Pete Kearns, who's now the police chief in Eugene. And there was a place called Hickey's Tea House, which was set up in the Whitaker neighborhood. And it was a place for radical folks and homeless people, and punk bands would go there once a week and from all over the West Coast and play hardcore punk. And so they were busting some business at Hickey's, the cops, but they didn't show us a search warrant yet. And I was videotaping, and there was a big fence in the back, and the cops were in the backyard, and we also I had an office there, cop watch office, and I was saying, you need to show us a search warrant. You know, you haven't showed us a search warrant yet, and I'm going to come back here and videotape you bastards until you can show me a search warrant. They said, do not come back here, Mr. Lewis, or we're going to arrest you. Fuck you. You know, show me a search warrant, I won't come back there. Well, we don't have it right now. Well, then I'm coming back here. So I jumped the fence, and we were videotaping it, and they arrested me. And for, you know, interfering with the police, interfering with the cops. And so, but yeah, sometimes you always got to break the law. Sometimes when the law is sort of sucky and what the cops are doing are also breaking the law, you know. And so I would definitely do whatever it took to document something that, and also what happens in forest defense a lot is there's national U.S. Forest Service land. That's supposed to be our land, Forest Service land, right? But they're cutting the hell out of it. But what happens is when this big area is ready to be cut, they put a closure on it, which means that you and I cannot go inside that area where all these loggers are cutting down the trees. And they say it's for public safety reasons. But really what it's about is so media and people cannot document them cutting these giant old trees down.
So what we've always done in the past was sneak in the middle of the night and inside the closure, and where we're trespassing if we get caught, and document those trees coming down. Do it all the time. And yeah, lots of people do that, and it's cool that they do. Cruise ships, but you know, money didn't really mean a whole bunch to me, you know, but I was searching for something, and I didn't know what I was looking for. And like I was saying, I was in my 40s, man, but I was still looking. And so when I did meet these people who were like fighting the man, who were radical, and who were all of a sudden opening my eyes to different things, it was like, hey, maybe this is what I'm looking for, you know, and I was really excited about it, and seeing whole different perspectives, you know, and seeing perspectives that I've never seen before. And like I was saying, like my eyes were being opened. And so that changed me when I saw all these different views and started reading different books and talking to different people and seeing just exactly, you know, how unfair things were and how many injustices there really were in this world and how unfair it was. And it sort of pissed me off, and I got sort of angry, you know. And so it did change me a little bit. Well, they definitely knew who I was. I mean, the cops still know who I am. I mean, I just walk through the streets and stuff, and they'll wave, "Hey Tim, how you doing?" You know, and they will definitely, when I show up, I still show up here and there with a camera, and they take notice and they try to keep me back still. And they haven't knocked on my door, per se, and, you know, or anything like that. But they do know where I am, I feel. And, you know, and I still feel like, you know, a lot of us who've been in the movement and stuff, who had some sort of impact, feel like our phones are tapped, and we're very aware of what we say on the phone. And we feel like we're being watched a little bit. Some people call that paranoia, but I call it a healthy paranoia. You know, and so yeah, I think that once you get involved with these kind of things and you start, you know, trying to tell what you consider a truth to the masses, then those institutions like government and police and corporate entities will start taking more notice of you, yes, of course, especially if you become effective. If you become effective, then they'll really take notice. But if you aren't effective, well, they don't give a shit. But if you start, you know, making waves, then they'll, yeah, let's start taking notice.